Wingardium Leviosa. Hi book besties, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are seeing my face for the first time, hi, my name is Maya and I like to talk about books here on the internet. Y'all, I need to address the fit. We got my Slytherin shirt on, house rep. Yeah, what are our thoughts? Is it sacrilegious to hold Sirius Black Swan while wearing a Slytherin shirt? I mean, if I go a little lower, you can't even really tell that it's Slytherin. You just see green on the collar of a polo, and you're just like, what is this all about? So, yeah. Okay. Well, anywho. Also, actually, now that I think about this is very fitting because I have my Hinjin and Han Skizu reps here, and they are very much Harry Potter fans. If I can re-find a clip that I saw of them recently, they literally did the killing curse on stage, and I was like, yup, that checks. Because it's a known thing that Hani or Hanji Sung or whomever we're calling him now, Kwoka, it's very well known that he has like this British accent when he speaks English, and it's amazing, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, we love it. But yeah, he has that accent and he loves Harry Potter, so it's like, it's so fitting. And then this one always is with him with the antics on that, so I think he also secretly likes Harry Potter. Or maybe it's not so secret, maybe it's just like not as well known because, you know, the whole accent thing. Anywho, that's neither here nor there. Y'all didn't come for Skizu. I'm here for Skizu. Y'all are probably not. Also, did I accidentally make them No, okay, good. I was just like, I am not unintentionally trying to make them kiss. Lena would kill me. Alrighty, let's just let's go back to our respective partners here. Kwoka was trying to escape. So I have recently been posting daily, not only on this platform with both my long form and short form videos, and on the days I do long form, I don't do short form, and I only do once a day. I have also been doing once a day on my TikTok and Lemonade accounts. One of the things that I have found that was exceptionally helpful in both time saving and edit time saving was to do like lists of books. And I did one where I was like, I would like to read these books for this upcoming spooky season, and I did all of the horror books that I have that I would like to read. I'm literally looking at them right now. They're kind of off screen, just in a big freaking pile. I need to get more bookshelves. Let's just put it that way, or maybe I need to do an on haul, either or, you know. But no, actually I like these books, never mind. I'll just get more shelves. Me talking myself into buying more bookshelves to get more books. Anywho, I have an entire list of horror books that I wanted to read, and then I started looking at the other stuff, and I was like, oh, I have books that I have read and would recommend for this kind of like fall spooky season, and you know, doing a little like, you know, throwing in witchy type of books, maybe not actually featuring witches, but that give witchy vibes. Maybe throwing in some books that are like cozy fall-esque, you know, for the cozy feels, and then, you know, more fantasy, kind of darker maybe, on the side of, again, more magical, because that's what we think of around that time. And I was like, you know what? I have read so many more books than I thought involving, you know, this type of season. I'm like, you know what? Not only could I share the list here with you guys in this long form video, because you may or may not have seen that short, I don't know. I could also add in some books that maybe I didn't in that because I just didn't think about it. So I have here sitting next to me some more witchy type of books, or that give witchy vibes. I also believe I may, oh yeah, Duh, I forgot this one. I also may throw in some other random recommendations that I think up of in the moment as I'm filming this video, and I'll just put those up on the screen. But I did my best to get all physical books just to prove that I have them. Let me just sort them in the way that I want to show them. Let's get into it. So these are some witchy books that I would recommend and have read. So the first one that I am going to show you is The Tarot Cafe by Sang-soon Park. This is the first book in an entire series of manga where we are following our main character, Pamela, and she is clairvoyant, and so she has a special capability of reading people's futures, and she does that by way of tarot readings. And so we first get introduced to her work really in this book. Now, I will say I had gotten the second volume, or what I thought was the second volume, special edition, chonker, okay, compared to the first. Well, I found out that this special edition actually held multiple volumes of the tinier versions, and so I actually have special edition volume 1 on its way. I'm so excited. So there is a difference between that volume 1 and this volume 1, and I will be reading that volume 1 in another video, but I wanted to make mention of that because I want to get some hype for that as well, because this, oh my goodness, this author, this artist actually did all of the designs in here. So gorgeous. Did I even finish the summary? I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place today. I'm kind of like, my brain is everywhere because I just had my car done, the wheels done, and I'm a little financially stressed right now. So sorry, my apologies. It might bleed into my all over brain. It's just the context of what's going on in my brain right now. So we follow Pamela. She is a clairvoyant. She reads people's futures through tarot card readings. She has a daylight job that is safe for humanity by owning a tea cafe, basically. And so she has regular customers and then after hours customers, and those after hour customers are not quite human. And so we follow along on those stories, and we get the first 3 stories in here, and we don't even really get Pamela's story or really too much about her, but honestly, I love that. I love the way that this author just kind of puts us in the story, puts us in her world, in her power, and we slowly start to get pieces of information about our main character without having the story be centered around her, even though it is in her point of view. We get into the minds of other characters in such a seamless way, and I just highly recommend this. But this is kind of like magic vibes and definitely witchy type of stuff, so definitely would recommend this book. Next, this is going to be a middle grade YA book, but Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This was a favorite of mine in November. I read this on my birthday month and I was so happy. Actually, the day of my birthday, I think, or the day before, I had really gotten into the weeds of, like, I believe the 3rd trial. I had so much to say. I had a lot of feelings, okay, on these characters, and the author just did this world so well. And I will say, okay, so I have read other books akin to the world of Harry Potter, which is kind of what this book is like, and they flopped miserably for me. But this world, I was very invested, very intrigued. It stands alone. It does have Harry Potter elements. It does, or rather elements that remind you of Harry Potter, but this is a work that stands on its own. And that's one thing that I love about this book, is that regardless of whether or not the author was intentional with certain elements that reminded the reader of the world of Harry Potter, it stood on its own as its own work. It didn't rely on all of the elements of Harry Potter trying to replicate the original, because when you try to replicate the original, you tend to miss the underlying context and feeling that the original had, because it's not its own thing. It's trying to be a mimicry of the original, and while people may say mimicry is the sincerest form of flattery, it's really not in reading. So I'm very happy with this book, and in this story we follow along our main character Morgan, who is kind of a outcast in her own world and kind of an outcast in the world that she goes into, but she finds a family there and she has people who look after her. She finds friendships, she finds enemies, of course, and she really just brings you into a world of just magic and wonder, wonder with a U, and you really start to have such a deep connection with this character and with her story, with this world, because of everything that she goes through and what you are just thrown into, basically. And a lot of it would be spoilers and things connected to spoilers, so I can't really say too much. It is kind of vague, but it is something that I absolutely love and adore, and it is so much fun to find things and try and connect it to Harry Potter, because I will say, when I actually did research on the author and the book, I realized that she probably didn't base much of this world off of Harry Potter. People just said it was like Harry Potter, and for some reason that translated in my brain to, oh, she took like a lot of inspiration from this. Maybe, but like not a lot. And it's so fun though to see certain characters and just like kind of parallel them to other characters that we know and love, because it's just fun, and it's nothing like the world that is often compared to this world, but it's also everything like it in by way of feeling, by way of emotional connection, and just good writing, honestly. So yes, this is a book I definitely recommend. Definitely witchy and wizard vibes. Another, I don't know if I would necessarily call this witchy or wizard vibes, but I definitely think this is magical adjacent. I mean, it's magic, but like when I think witchy type of books, I think witches and wizards, and they're magic users, so is that adjacent? I don't know, but A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I read this I think the year before coming onto BookTube. Not even gonna lie. I had some of my best reads before coming onto this channel. You know, I was getting back into my bookish era and there was no pressure of trying to commit to anything. Not that I have pressure here, okay? It is definitely a different type of reading style that I have now, because now I have people to hold me accountable versus just holding myself accountable and being like, okay, I like the reading aspect of life and I want to read again. And so when I got into this book, this was almost like Slump Crusher to the max, because what I love about this world was the magic system. So let me back up. We're following our main character, Kel, and he can travel between worlds. And that also was an element that I really love. So let me like pause in the summary. I loved how this character had to travel between worlds. The magic system was so clear and concise. You can travel between worlds, but there was a structure. You can only like go in between worlds where the places were similar. You had something of the other world. You had to literally draw blood, I think, on some points. Like, there is a lot going on in this system, and it's very well structured. It has its own set of rules. If you break the rules, there will be consequences. I love that, because while magic is supposed to be otherworldly, I think you just have to, on some level, have some rules that is known to at least the characters, and especially the author, because you're writing about it, but like, it has to be known to the author, has to be known to the characters, maybe known to the readers. Maybe the readers figure it out, maybe they don't, but it makes sense to the readers enough to not question its validity, because like, magic, at its best when there's consequences involved. You know, we do read books to escape reality, but I think there has to be some elements of reality within the books that make sense to the reader to have it be a genuine experience outside of our world that we live in. Does that make sense? So this author does it really, really well. And especially with the magic system too. There's a lot of blood, there's a lot of gore. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we're following along Kel, who can travel between different Londons. There's Grey London, White London, Red London, and bam ba da dum bam 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 womp 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 Black London. That no one speaks of anymore, and everyone kind of thinks is District 13. And he is a traveler between Londons. He's also very loved, I guess. Yes. In Red London specifically, and he has kind of like a family there, but they don't know what he does or how he does it. They protect him, but maybe there may be some underlying things that could be taken as betrayal. Who knows? So read this book definitely to find out what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to talk about. To be honest, I don't even know if it would go so far as to say like underlying hints of betrayal if it was found out. Maybe so. But, I mean, kind of, yeah, because it's kind of illegal. But, I mean, he's also supposed to, it's a lot. It's a lot. You just kind of have to read this book. There's a lot of like contradictory elements. That makes sense. Again, this entire world, it's not just the magic system, but this entire world is based in logic and consequence. Circe by Madeline Miller is my next recommendation. This has gotten a 5-star from me every single time. The first time that I read it, the second time I reread it, the third time I reread it, like I, at this point, have a reread going every single year since I first read this book, and I have nothing but high praise. And I gotta say, it's so interesting to look back because I'm not trendy, right? It's nice to look back and to see the reactions of BookTube to this book. It's also really nice to see different booktubers nowadays first read it after so many years of it being popular, because if you really think about it, when Book Talk really popped up in Barnes & Noble bookstores and they finally got that hashtag Book Talk, which I was stupidly thinking was like just a hashtag, not actually like a thing, it was this book. It was this book. Like, this was the book that was featured everywhere. Still has its own table. Like, what can you say? It's a good read. But for me, not only is it literally about a witch and gives witchy vibes and his power and, you know, Greek myth adjacent. I mean, it is Greek myth, but like a Greek myth in a modern retelling of a historical past, and pretty freaking darn accurate. It's interesting for me because this was written from the point of view of Circe, and I think what this author did was so genius. She capitalized on Circe being a minor goddess, right, and not really having much of the spotlight, but also Circe herself. So out of left field, really. A great character to have a perspective on, much like Patroclus in the story of Achilles, right? Because Patroclus is known, but he's known for being associated with Achilles. Like, if Achilles didn't like him the way that he did, or love him the way that he did, we would not know Patroclus of Opus existed, other than maybe a passing by, right? So, if we're being honest, so, you know, it's very interesting because Circe, again, very unknown name, but not that well known. Like, she's known because of other men, which at the time in history was a thing, you know, and women weren't known. It was the men, which is why, okay, I'm going to go off on a side tangent here, but it makes sense to the time and place, okay? So just bear with me, okay? So, in the Bible, there are certain women that are mentioned. That is historic because women were not elevated like that. They were not known. They were not the names in the genealogies list, okay? It was the men, right? It was the men. So when the Bible mentions women, and specifically women as witnesses to Christ's resurrection, that is unheard of. You know, and when a woman started one of the Greek churches, like, or Roman churches, I'm totally, like, I'm very, very new to the world of Christianity, okay? I don't have it all. I mean, I grew up in it, but I never really paid attention to it. And now that I have taken it on as my own personal thing, it's like, it's different. It's different, okay? In my knowledge and remembrance of everything. But all of that to say, this is like modernized. This woman is not only named, we are following along on this journey of a woman from the perspective of women in a modern day view of women, but in a historical setting. Like, she's not there for the modern woman, like this modern woman, but she is there for the modern woman and everything that is about to happen that'll lead us to the modern woman, if that makes sense. Like, her perspective is, you know, these men are wrong. These women are wrong. Let's create a new perspective. And really just highlighting the fact that, like, you know, women are more than pretty objects for your personal entertainment, men. And highlighting men, you can be something more than anger and war and greed and power, and you can, yes, actually care about someone outside of having a lineage to further your name. That is a thing. That does happen. You know, here is what a man can be. Here is what a woman can be, and both of them are great and amazing. So why are we defaulting to something that is worse? And that's what I really love about this book, to be quite honest. What I really love is that messaging. Speaking of kind of religious tones, let's get into the next track. Is anyone surprised that I'm recommending this book after my hour video? Wrapping up my September reads? I think not. Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, book 1 by Gregory Maguire. This is a book that I do indeed highly recommend if you are in this world. If you are not of the world of Wicked and Oz and theater and all of this may be a lot. And I gotta admit, like, you gotta be in it. You can't be half there. You gotta be, brain power all the way to 100, maybe even 200. Bruh, I had to switch my brain power up to 500, okay? It's a time and a thing, okay? It's no shame, no shade, no tea. It's just time and a thing. It's the way that it was written. Honestly, it's written like a lot of books in the past. Not to knock any of the books now, my goodness. But, you know, they knew how to write worlds. They showed you what was going on. You didn't have to leave it up to your imagination. They showed you. They took you around the room. It was like, oh, we're not giving you a snapshot. We're giving you the panorama. Okay? Of everything. And sometimes it is hard to stay engaged. However, stay engaged long enough, get past all of the pictures, all of the landscapes, and get to see the world, then see the characters, and then see the storyline that is going in with them. It's I said my thoughts on this book in that video, so I'm not going to beleaguer the point too much. All I have to say is this is a great book. It does have religious undertones, so if you are not about that life, maybe not the book for you, okay? It does have a lot of, how do I put this as safe for work? Not safe for work. It has a lot of, it has a lot of, has a lot of nudity and other things that can relate to that. Yeah, it has a lot of that going on. The next thing that is giving like witchy vibes, and both of these are from the same author, so I'm gonna show them both at the same time. The Lost Apothecary and London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. My goodness, this woman knows how to write atmospheric. She knows how to write historical and modern day timelines cohesively and intertwining seamlessly. She knows how to write about women and from the perspective of women. Probably because she's a woman. But like, some men know how to write women well too. Okay, I'm not gonna knock it. That's a very like awesome trait to have if you can write, a perspective of the opposite gender as someone from the opposite gender. That's pretty freaking cool. Okay. I don't have that ability. Not by a long shot, but I still write. Regardless. Anyway, that's why I'm not published. Anyway, I love her writing and the themes that she has and the type of women that these are. I gotta say, like, I'm starting to notice a trend. I mean, she only has 3 books, so she could totally, pivot and do other things. But for the most part, for the first 2 books at least, she has historical women who are associated with magic elements. And I greatly appreciate that. You can't deny that there are certain things where it's like, can you say that there is such a thing as demonic activity? Can you say that there is another plane, maybe of existence, not just of like the negative where we think demonic, but also maybe angelic? I believe in angels and demons. Absolutely. I do believe that they are a thing. I don't know how they exist in our world and like on that sphere. I don't know. Like, I don't have those answers, and it's fun to like look into that. It's fun to see other people's perspectives on it, but then it's also like a topic of conversation, like whether you believe in that thing or not. There are points in history where people question that a lot, and why. Getting into the psychology of the thing is so fun and fascinating, and I think you really kind of get that with her writings. It's not definitive. It's very atmospheric. It's very, pointing to a particular time and place, to particular spots in history from women. And I love that, because oftentimes you don't get a lot from women. I'll say it again. It was historic to hear that there are women listed in the Bible by name in a time when women were not, highly praised, shall we say. And then moving on further from that, I mean, it did take quite a while for, women to be acknowledged like that. I'm not knocking that. I'm not saying that didn't happen. That happened, So what was the day-to-day? What was the natural woman like? And you get to see that in certain points in like historical timelines, obviously from a fictional perspective, but you got to see that from women, from the perspective of women, and honestly from the perspective of women on other women too. And these other women trusted these women that you're reading about to talk about this stuff. It's fantastic. It's like you get that insider perspective of what could have been. And then also you get kind of a perspective of what men could have been like, good and bad. And women, the exact same, good and bad. I mean, frick it. This book talks about a time and a place where a woman from the past who was, into the medicinal realm in a bad way, helped other women, off their men. I mean, talk about getting revenge. Like, that happened in this one. In this one, obviously seance, so we're a little further on in the timeline here. Well, maybe not obviously, because I guess seance could have been around forever too. But it's further on in the timeline because of just dates and stuff. A historical woman that literally conducted seance to speak to the dead, to help people. And it got into the thick of seances as well. Things that people use to trick other people, to make money off of people's grief. And it wasn't the woman, it was the men. It was a secret society of men, well, not so secret society of men, that used tricks to try and do what this woman could actually do, but didn't always say yes to because of the respect of the spirit of the dead that they did not have. It's insane. This is insane. It's so good, so atmospheric, so amazing. And it brings you back to history, the real modern day equivalents. It's so fascinating. And well, I mean, this one is, I think it's less modern day. I think it's more so historical, with two differing perspectives of a historical to them timeline that they knew and understood in their own personal past, whereas this was actually historical and modern day. But same vibes, same feeling. So amazing. So amazing. Anyway, those are all the books. My phone is yelling at me for low battery, so I'm going to very quickly cut this off. I'm so sorry if I get cut off. But thank you guys so much for watching, for taking the time out of your day to do so. I will continue to link, you know, fun spooky season, cozy fall season readathons in my description box down below. The list is getting longer. Yay, we love. So go and check those people out. I am participating in TBR Harvest. I am hoping to do a little video on that here shortly, or to make one and have one come out in November. We'll see what happens, whichever one comes first. I will leave also link down below my social medias, my book talk, my Instagram, my TikTok that is both, you know, life and books, my Lemonade account, and I think Vocal as well, or anything else that you may be interested in, my lifestyle channel also. So that will all be down there for you. Thank you guys so much, and thank you so much for being the absolute best bookish bestie that ever was, is, or ever will be. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!